My name is Brian Steinspring. I coach the offensive line at Virginia Tech. From a special team standpoint, I'm in charge of the field goal protection unit, and I'm also in charge of the long and short snappers here at Virginia Tech. We feel that snapping is a very important part of special teams. It's a component that's often overlooked by many of the fans and in attendance to the game until there's a mishap. Then it becomes a very critical part for everyone concerned. There's several elements we're going to look at in terms of snapping that we hope will help you improve your snapping and consistency at that. There are 6 basic elements that we're going to talk about today in terms of snapping the football. I got here with me Steve Hale, who was a long snapper and short snapper for us several years ago, and he's going to help demonstrate some of the things that we're talking about. The first part of our stance and what we're hoping to accomplish is we want our feet parallel. We're not going to have a stagger. We want our feet slightly wider than shoulder width apart, and we want a little bow in our knees. And all we're trying to do in terms of that is allow ourselves to have a proper follow-through angle. We won't have any tightness in our stance to prevent a good follow-through. The elevation of our hips is determined by whether we're going to short snap or long snap. If we're in a PAT, extra point situation, our shoulders and our tail is going to be pretty much on the same level playing there. If we're going to snap into a long snap routine on a punt, then our tail is going to be slightly higher than our shoulders to allow him to get the ball up and cover the distance that it needs to go. The second element in terms of snapping is the grip of the football. The first thing you want to try to do here is take your dominant hand and just like you're going to throw a football, grip the laces. Okay, the second hand, your offhand, what we're going to try to do is take our middle finger down the seam. Okay, and that gives it, and then we'll just roll it over. We'll take our dominant hand and we'll roll it over where the laces are down and the seam of in the middle finger is looking right back up at us. All we're trying to do with the laces in the seam is to create rotation and spin on the football. Take it down to the ground there, Steve, and see what it looks like from that standpoint. You're going to roll the wrist over, keep the elbows in, the middle finger down the seam. It helps create more rotation and spin on the football. The part of the elbows in and the middle finger, while that is important than any other finger, is because it keeps your elbows inside. It's going to help you shoot your hands through when you go to deliver the ball. The third element of snapping that we're going to talk about now is the release and follow through. And we're going to have Steve Hale again demonstrate a drill that we're doing to try to takes into factor all the things that we're trying to teach here. He's going to keep a good base. Like he's in a snap situation, he's going to take the ball over his head, okay? He's got his grip that we've worked on in his hand placement. And what he's trying to work on here is a good tight spiral on the football, throwing the palms outside and the thumbs down. I think it's a tremendous drill to get us started off in terms of snapping instead of just jumping right down and snapping the football. Okay, let's go through a snap here. Again, snapping the ball about 10 yards. Now, the difference here, once we start making our snap, is that the thumbs are going to go up while the palms go outside. Good follow through. Again, we're going to try to watch and make sure that there is a good solid follow through. Good snap of the wrist right there. And he's going to try to make those elbows hit those inside parts of his knees, just right there, what you're seeing. It's a good snap. Slow it down just a little bit here for me, Steve. There. Good snap through. You see the thumbs up, palms outside, and you see that his elbows are braced on the inside part of his knees. That's a good-looking snap. The fourth element we're going to talk about is hip flexion. And the use of the hips is very important to us in terms of getting velocity on the football. What Steve's going to do here is our shoot drill. He's going to drop the ball right below his helmet. He's going to pick it slightly off the ground, and that's going to encourage him to use his buttocks and his hips to make this a good snap. You'll see his feet are going to give a little bit of ground back. He's going to create a little track. If he does this enough, there should be a little track, 2 parallel tracks. Right there, good. You see the tightening of the hips and then the release, and now your velocity starts. We believe this helps our snappers develop the idea of what's going to get the ball back there. The next element is very simple. It's the execution of the snap. And what we're looking here and what we practice at Virginia Tech is addressing the football as a game situation, in terms of how you're going to come up to the line of scrimmage. Steve, come on in here. Again, he's going to come out, he's going to address the football, just like a game situation, get the ball comfortably gripped. He's going to sight his target behind him, may check the defensive front, see what type of rush, resight, and snap it on a ready when he is ready. Boom. What we're talking about now is our field goal protection, our lineup, and some key factors that we're looking at in terms of protecting our snap and protecting the ball to get it off in a good operation. The guard, the center's going to get down, get set, then we're going to line up off the guard. We're going to try to get a nice little bow here. We're going to take a 6-inch split across the board here. Our inside foot's going to be back. Our outside foot's going to be at the heel of the guy inside. What we're going to do is get down a nice low stance. I'm going to have a base a little wider than normal. The snap of the ball, we're keying the ball. Nothing makes us move except the snap of the football. So we're going to, out of the corner of our eye, we're keying the snap of the ball. On the snap of the ball, we're stepping inside and shoulders are staying square. I got inside gap control, but I want to have a center line of gravity, which means I'm able to help my buddy outside while controlling my gap. If I turn my shoulders or lose my center line of gravity here, then I've opened up an additional running space, which we don't want to do. We want to be able to stay square, control my inside gap here, but be able to be firm enough outside where I'm not collapsing and getting run through, keeping my outside leg welded to the ground. Okay, Dan, could you step in here? Across the board, everything else is now simple. My outside foot, I'm keeping a 6-inch split. I'm going to get into his instep with my outside foot, 6-inch split, slightly behind his heel, so when the ball snaps, I'm now here behind his heel. Again, protecting my inside gap, but yet firm enough outside not to get washed down. Keeping your outside foot still, keeping the center line of gravity, and my shoulders square. Pads are down. Okay, Coach Foster. Moving out to the tight end spot. Exactly the same as a guard and tackle. Outside foot, working the instep with the outside foot of my buddy. 6-inch split, down in a good stance, and again, on the snap of the ball, boom, we're all working in unison. I control inside gap, and I'm pushing outside, okay, from this standpoint here. Okay, Coach? Our wing, he's going to put his foot and his body down the midline of the tight end right here. And his responsibility is never to move that inside foot, protect this inside gap with the tight end. As our rusher tries to beat this gap here, I'm going to punch, impede his progress, ricochet back outside, and make the outside rusher change his lane of rush. Okay, ready, man. That's our field goal protection.
We blocked a lot of kicks here at Virginia Tech, but no one has blocked more kicks than Keon Carpenter. He's now playing pro football, and he's back with us to help demonstrate some of the things we do. I think all of us would like to block kicks. The one thing we're afraid of is roughing the kicker. There's 4 things I think you do to guard against that. Number 1 is the landmark. The landmark is so important. Our players will know exactly where that landmark is. We tell them this, and for any reason, if you get past that landmark, pull off. You're not going to block the kick this time. But what we have here is that you can run through this landmark full speed, and that's what you got to be able to do to block kicks. We'll set the landmarks, let's say 8 yards. We always set it 2 yards in front of where the punter actually kicks the ball, because you can adjust this way. In other words, I'd much rather be reaching out than have my body on a collision course with that punter. The punter's actually going to catch the ball, or kick the ball at 10 yards. Our landmark is 8. That's where Keon will come to, and then he'll adjust himself. So as we go through this thing right here, Keon will come to 8 yards, and then he'll adjust himself to the punter, who's actually going to be kicking at 10. But we have freedom here that we're not going to rough the kicker. The next thing is the angle to the football. You never put your body on a collision course with the kicker. If you're coming from the left side, you're going to come across and go right on through the blocking area full speed, okay? You've got to feel like you've got the ability to run through that block area full speed and not rough the kicker, not be on a collision course with the punter. Next, if you're coming from the right side, you do the same thing and go across. In other words, be able to go through that blocking area full speed. Now, the tricky thing is if you're coming up the middle, and you always want to come off to the kicker's foot. If you're on this side, your head on with the punter, all right, then we'll come across and come off to the kicker's foot. We never want to put ourselves on a collision course with that punter. If we're coming from this side, it's just the opposite. We'd come across, and now he's going to come across to the kicker's foot. Never putting himself on a collision course with that punter. Next thing you want to do is stay on your feet. We never leave our feet to block a kick, because as long as your feet's on the ground, you can adjust yourself back here. But once you dive up in the air, you would never see us do that, because once you've done that, you're at their mercy. We want to be under control. We're not going to block every kick, but we're going to feel good that we're not going to rough the punter. Come through properly this time, Keon. As long as his feet's on the ground, then he can adjust himself into whichever direction he needs to go. The last thing I'd say to you, if you're blocked, stop and work outside. If we're rushing 8 people, we want 7 of them blocked. We only want 1 person back here running through this blocking lane back here. If we've got 2, then they're trying to avoid each other. They're liable to run into each other and then all of a sudden rough the kicker. We only want 1 person free back here. So what will happen here, come on in and help me, Coach Steinspring. If Keon is blocked, all right, he's going to go like he's going to go like he's going to block the kick. Now, if he's blocked, I want him to stop, start working outside. Keep that area free back there. Now what's going to happen one of these days is that punter's going to pull the ball down. He realizes the ball is going to be blocked. He starts running. Keon's going to be out here to make the tackle. The next thing that's going to happen is that one of these days, the ball will be blocked back there. The ball comes out to Keon's side right here. Now he picks up the ball and goes to the end zone. So there's a lot of reasons why, if you're blocked, stop, work to the outside. Those are the 4 things I think that says, okay, we're not going to rough that kicker, and that's really important. We've talked about not roughing the kicker, but now let's talk about the actual techniques. First thing I go into is the stance. And what we'd like to do is get our foot back as far as we can. We get our hand down, and it's just like a sprinter. In other words, we've got to come out of this thing very fast. The next thing I'd tell you is we're going to put the ball right here on the line. Let's put it on this line right here. Now Keon can put his hand down on that line, and this is how we practice, all right? Now we know we're as close to that ball as we possibly can. Keon will get his head back behind his hand. Now he knows he's on side. Now he can turn his full attention to that football and when it's going to be snapped. And that's the next important thing, get off. A lot of times snappers will start squeezing the ball a little bit. Their hands start turning a little bit white. Some snappers will hitch the ball a little bit. They'll take the ball up in the air slightly. All those things are keys to get you off. So you need to be able to concentrate on keying that football so you get the best jump possible. The first 5 yards are the most critical in blocking a kick. That's where you got to be just like a sprinter. So when that ball's snapped, those first 5 yards, a lot of people want to come out and see what's going to happen, see if a hole opens up. But you can't do that. You got to come out of here expecting to go free, nice and low, just like a sprinter would be, expecting to go free and make up ground during this part of the time. The next thing, we never want to get our hands up to the very last second. A lot of people about right here want to start throwing their hands up in the air. Now you can't run as fast as you normally would. So Keon would never put his hands up till he gets all the way back here to the punter, all right? And at the very last second, his hands will go from his hips to right there. That's as far as it is. It's not up in the air any further. It's a very quick move, very fast move. So that's the next thing. All right, and then after that, it's all, where are your eyes? 2 things can't happen. We can't turn our head as we get back here, and we can't close our eyes when we get back here. Now, if Keon turns his head back here, all right, or he turns his body back here, he can't be on this team. He wouldn't do that. He'll look right there at that foot, all right? He knows his landmark. He can come through here full speed. Now, you look right there at that foot. He'll keep his eyes open. He'll never close his eyes. And then he'll put his hands right on the foot at the very last second. He'll put his hands on the foot at the very last second. And that's the 7 techniques to block a kick. People all the time ask us, show us all the drills you use to teach blocking kicks. And it's 1. We only use 1 drill. This is it. We do it 2 or 3 times a week. We practice this a lot because your punt blockers got to feel comfortable back here when they get around that punter. So this is the one we use. And to set it up, we use a softball. We take some of the air out of the ball right there so guys are not hurting their hands when they come through here. And then after that, we have a snapper. He'll have that ball on the line just like we talked about earlier. We always work with a line there so we know we're on sides. We get lined up. He'll snap it actually to a person back here. And I like that because, again, those hands start tightening a little bit. You're working on getting a jump on the ball. And then he'll snap it back here to a punter who will kick a ball at 10 yards. This is a drill that we use. His hands stay down to the very last second, all right? And now he takes his zone approach. In other words, he's going to go upfield and then redirect to the landmark. That's a good way to practice. Make his body small, all right? And then here he comes, exploding through to block the kick. This is part of the game I really enjoy working with. I think a couple things you look for is a guy that really has explosive get-off. That makes such a difference, a guy that can really get a jump on the ball. Next thing is guys that's got speed, and it really helps if they got height or long arms, because again, when you get back here, if you don't block the kick, it's always about you missed it by about that much. So if those arms are a little bit longer, if you can make up some distance along the way with your speed, then that's the difference in blocking the kick or not blocking it. So those are the things that I think are important. I think this is a critically big part of the game, football. If you can block a kick, you can turn a game around in a hurry. I'd like to show you a zone approach, a real simple one that we use here at Virginia Tech to blocking a punt. It involves stretching those zones that we talked about outside, but this is what I'm talking about. What we want to do is stretch this side right here. So we would have 5, for example, to work his way right behind that center, get as far to the inside as he can, and work to his landmark. We would like for 4 to either start out outside and then jump back inside, but again, stretching that area right there. He could start out inside and work straight up the field and then redirect to his landmark. What we would tell 3 here is to work upfield until that tackle can no longer block you, and once he can't block you, then bend hard, almost running away from this slot to go to your landmark, to the blocking point. We would tell 2 to take a step and try to go one step outside of where this slot can get his hand on you. And as soon as you get to where he can't get his hand on you, bend hard for your landmark. So that would be a zone stretch, trying to block a punt approach for us here at Virginia Tech. Let's show you what I'm talking about on the video. All right, you'll notice right here, notice this is 2, 3, 4, 5. This is going to be our zone approach right here. We'll start the video, and you'll notice this guy will jump to the inside. Notice number 82 right here, starting outside but jumping back inside. We're trying to stretch that zone right there. Notice 83 here going upfield and then bending hard for his landmark. And the outside guy is going to get blocked. But you'll notice we free up 1 right here. He takes the ball right off his foot, looks right at it, and that's how you block a kick. Here's a great shot of what we teach taking the ball off the foot. You're going to see a guy come from the outside right here, take it right off his foot, and actually it never hits the ground. The only thing that's wrong here, he gets his hands up in the air a little too long. They don't need to be up there. He can't run quite as fast as he could if his hands were down by his side. But the thing he does is he looks at the ball and takes it right off the guy's foot, and he takes it to the end zone. We talked about Keon Carpenter, his great athletic ability and what he could do. Here's Keon in action. And of course, as we said earlier, he's our leading punt blocker here at Virginia Tech. And as you can see, he had to dodge a guy. He shows great athletic ability right here. And then again, he puts his hands right on the kicker's foot, takes it right off the foot. We'll see that from behind. I think you'll even get a better look here of Keon in action. Here he is, moving around a little bit before the ball is snapped, trying to get a good jump on the football. He gets him a good jump, has to do a nice juke move, and as you can tell, again, he's got his eyes right on that foot and puts his hands right on that foot, and another block kick. Another shot of Keon Carpenter, again, his great explosion off the ball, his good athletic ability, again putting his hand right on the kicker's foot, again going off to the kicker's side where there's no chance he's going to have a roughing the punter penalty. All those things that we teach here. Again, you'll see him make himself small as he avoids this center. You know, he's not giving them a full surface to block. He's turned his shoulders a little bit to avoid the center. And all those things are key ingredients in blocking kicks.
Here's a look at our base, field goal, and PAT block on video. What we have here is our block left. Our backer has come out of here a little bit early to check the eligible receiver. But the thing that you see right here, we're all in sprinter stances. You know, if he's up here in this position, it'd be hard to tell if we're coming block right or block left. And it should look that way. But the thing that we've got here, we've got good sprinter stances. Our hands are out in front of our head. They're all focusing in on the football, keying that football to get a great jump on the ball. Now, we're getting great movement. Let's just take the inside look. We get these two guys right here. Now, the second guy in really doesn't get a great jump, but we have good pad level here where we're getting good movement. All right, now what we want to do is just get these guys to get big. All right, and now hopefully get their hands up and get in the flight of the ball right here. All right, now what happens is here when you get great get off and you get two working one, that tackle feels like he's got to step down and help that guard. And now what that does is allows our stud end to get great penetration right here. He does a good job, again, of making himself small, but basically what we're going to do is we're going to take really three and work them over two and create a mismatch there, and now allow us to get penetration and allow us to block kicks. This would be an example of our getting penetration with our two inside guys. Good pad level right here, and now what we want to do, as soon as we get penetration, we want to get up and get vertical and get big. All right? And now we've created a wall right here, and now number 96 puts his big paw up there and gets a piece of that football. Now, this is again, we want to be good about getting broke down right here, and that ball ricochets to you. We want to be in a position to go and get that ball and take it the other way, and now it's points for us.
Let's take a look here real quick at our extra point field goal protection. You see our lineup, 6-inch splits that we've talked about already. Pads are down. Inside foot is a little bit behind, so we're able to step inside and get behind our buddy next to us. So we'll take a look here at our operation, how things work. Good operation time. Our kicker gets the ball up very well. Really good shoulder. That's a good center line of gravity right there. Everything's right down the pipe. He's stepping inside, but he's not turning his shoulders. He's staying square. This wing guy here is doing a good job of keeping his inside foot punching off at the end right here. It's a good job of getting a good snap on the ball here by everyone, stepping in unison. Another look at a different type of rush. Again, nice job by your wing guy. You're being patient a little bit. Tight end's dropping his hat here some, but knocking him off his course. See it better from this angle? Again, good pad level, good shoulder square, inside gap control, just helping your buddy out with your outside hand by pushing back outside. But a nice job here of knocking off course by your slot. At Virginia Tech, we feel that if our execution is good every time, and when I talk about execution in terms of blocking up front and handling our assignments and the operation time between the center and the holder and the kicker, then we should never get a field goal block.
I want to take a little time and go over our punt protection here at Virginia Tech. We're a little bit different in the fact that we're a zone protection concept across the board. Again, let me show you the diagram on the board. And we start with our formation. We're a spread formation, kind of a conventional like everybody else. Let's talk about our splits. At the guard position, we'll use a 6-inch split. At the tackle, we'll use a foot, or 12 inches. At the wing position, we'll be lined up on our outside foot 4 yards from the ball. So 4 yards in depth this way. That way. Our personal protectors at 5 yards deep. Our punters at 13 yards deep. Our wing people are 2 yards above the numbers on the line of scrimmage. That basically is our alignment to start off with, and that's where we start. From there, we're a zone concept. And in order to make our punt protection work, there's probably two vital things. First off, that we get a little bit of depth off the football, so we'll set and bend off our alignment, and when our helmet splits, the number of the center. This allows us to get back off the football. Secondly, we set straight back, that everybody works together, setting straight back or vertical, working together. The same way or concept that two offensive linemen switch off in pass protection on a defensive line pass twist is the same way we'll work here. Everybody's responsible for their outside gap, but we like to hold space or help our wingman inside by making our inside hand available. Our center snaps it on command, gets big, and then gets out in the zone. Our personal protector has really eyeballs both A gaps and hunkers in anything inside for us. Again, off of our set, if for instance, if I'm a left guard, we have our outside foot back, our tail down, and as we set straight back, we give ground grudgingly. We're responsible for our outside gap, so we look at our outside gap punching through our widest most, but we feel with our inside hand any threat in this A gap. The same mirrored protection is true for our tackle and our wing, being responsible for the outside gap, but yet they feel or help inside with an inside field hand. Here's an example of our punt protection on videotape. Notice our splits at the guard position are 6 inch. We're a foot here. Again, we're aligned with his outside foot 4 yards from the ball. Our headhunters are not on the screen because we've got an inside or an end zone shot. Upon command, we snap the football. We've got a left-footed punter, so therefore our personal protector is on the left side. Everybody sets back, straight, working vertical. Again, responsible for their outside gap, punching through their gap. Everybody shuffles and sets, giving ground grudgingly. If anything here, the right side, everybody's in pretty good shape. If anybody's in a little bit poor shape, it's a left tackle. He sets out a little bit, and there's an example of air, or a little bit too much air, in the B gap there. Once everybody's got their man stopped and makes him restart, we escape and get into our coverage lanes and get down the field. Take time out and show you a couple shots of our kickoff return. And this is our alignment here at Virginia Tech. We have 5 guys across the front. We have 2 tight ends, a fullback, 2 halfbacks, and a tailback. Our basic thing is we want to expect the unexpected. Always assume for an onside kick or a squib or a sky kick, we want to see the ball off the tee, any of these front 5. The next thing that's probably as much important for these guys is their drop. They've got to understand where we're trying to run the football and also get back to their landmark, turn and attack on the guy that they're responsible for. We're a count protection and a wedge scheme as well. We count from left to right just like you would read. Each of these guys are responsible for a number. They've got to understand angles of the game as they drop back, get to a point, and then go attack the guy they're responsible for. Upon attacking them, we use 3 things. We say fit, form, and run. We want to fit up on the defender, we want to form in on him, and we want to run our feet on contact, staying up with him, taking him where he wants to go, creating these guys back here a lane to run in. Let's run the film right quick. Again, they see it off the front foot. Here's an example of a guy taking a drop. He wants to drop approximately to the 28-yard line. He gets inside. He fits up on the guy. Gets his drop. He goes and attacks. He fits him. He forms. He runs his feet. Another one staying up front. This happens to be, in our scheme of things, a wedge return. The back line's got a wedge principle here where they get shoulder to shoulder on a go call. They're going north and south. Here's another shot of it, kickoff return. Again, our alignment is the same. We don't vary much with that. Again, expect the unexpected up front. We see the ball kick. Here's a good example of somebody getting up on that front line and staying with them, creating a seam, and the kickoff returner going north and south. We don't want to go east and west here in this phase of the football game. Here's a good example of a guy getting inside of the man he's responsible for.